Hello, everyone. Today I'm talking with Amy McCoy of My Hometown Realty Group in the Atlanta area. How are you today, Amy?
I'm fabulous. Thank you.
That's great to hear. So tell me a little bit about you, your business, your brokerage, and in the Atlanta area.
So Atlanta is a consistently growing community. I want to say we're this big city, but we're such a big town playing big city.
Mm,
Um, and depending on which social media memes you're reading, it says we're full. Go away, but we're not. We are constantly growing.
mm.
We're constantly expanding and being that welcoming, inviting city that I've grown to love because this is where I'm from. I'm from there. Mhm.
Mhm. Very good. So you've grown, born and raised in the Atlanta area. So a couple of things are interesting. It's like you have started your own brokerage.
Mhm.
So you must have all kinds of experience and all kinds of stories to tell about the
do.
area.
I do.
So that is really interesting. How big is your brokerage?
So I keep a small boutique business because I cater with property management and so just a side note, I was born in South Georgia and I
Mm,
was raised in Germany for about 12 and a half years and came back during my adolescence
okay.
here. But my family, everybody is here in Atlanta and have was raised here from high school and on. The For my business model and why it works for me is because I work with a lot of international clients. And so, because of my background in the international sector of being able
Mhm,
to live overseas, I have grown my niche working with a lot of investors, foreign investors, that for
mhm,
me personally invested in areas that were forgotten about by local municipalities. And so, in having that, with redlining issues, these people were able to come in, invest, and help bring back those communities that were long lost, forgotten. So I just found a niche that works for me
okay.
as a small company, and but I love it. I've got a few agents that are doing exceptionally well,
Mhm.
and so yeah, I've been actually getting ready to celebrate my 7th year as an independent broker, and
Mhm.
I've been in business for 16 years.
Congratulate a lot of reasons to congratulate you for that
Thank
because they say
you.
in general 5 years is sometimes a turnaround time for some agents. Either they decide to continue or they move on. So not only have you stayed in it, you've actually excelled and grown
Yes.
to the business community around there. Can I assume that the year spent in Germany was that, if you don't mind me asking, was that a like a military
Everybody in my
trip?
family was military.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Everybody was military. My mom
Mhm.
immigrated here when she was 15 years old, 14, 15 years old from the UK. She was
Okay.
born and raised in the UK, and my grandmother married a service member in the military, and then they relocated here. And then she met my father in the military here in Georgia as well.
Okay.
So,
Military connections. I know I had some, like at least one or two cousins born over in Germany when I had aunts and uncles who were in service. So it's always a little bit of an explaining to do, but it makes sense totally. Wonderful. So the Atlanta area, I mean, you're talking about you found a niche in your business,
mhm.
and I'm curious, what are some of the things that are driving people to your area?
So Atlanta, number one, I, I would say is our cost of living is so affordable. We still rank in, I believe, still one of the top 10 places uh, to actually afford to live. Our rental rates, our home ownership rates, everything, it kind of lines in with normal averages for people looking to relocate. Big business is still coming here to the Atlanta area. Where I live in Douglas County, I think we're up to 9 data centers just down the block from me. So, which was one of the reasons why I invested where I'm at, because I have this hope and dream we're going to turn into our own Silicon Valley. Uh, but the big business is still coming here, which makes it an excellent place. And that local municipalities are starting to think into the walking trails and kind of that live, work, play atmosphere in all its respective little cities, that it's making each little town unique. And that I find that a lot of people that used to live outside the city are even trending back into the city because they like that atmosphere of walkability and stuff.
Okay, that's great then. So they kind of get the benefits of, all the amenities that the city has to offer, which is great. So I'm curious, you said there's some call centers being relocated down there. Is that a typical
Yeah, so data centers is a
data center?
major thing. Yeah,
Okay.
data centers are a major thing. They're not big job producing industry. However, in terms of we all need our data with social media, right? In
Mm,
companies. So the place that we have a lot of storage facilities for those located near where I'm at
mm.
is good because those are high tax revenue businesses that help the municipalities that take some of that burden off of homeowners. So, which is a good way to think of it. That's why, and one of the real reasons why I moved into the county where
Mm.
I'm at, because they were forward thinking to know to pursue after companies like that that wouldn't be so invasive on roadways with tractor trailers and things of that sort.
That's a very good point. So it's not like you have these huge buildings everywhere. I mean, data centers can be actually not have a huge footprint probably for a building.
Correct.
But yet it does provide some jobs too. And I imagine these days where there's just so much decentralization
Mhm.
of businesses, they put their data center in a place that would be very welcoming
Yes.
and all that. So that's a good thing to understand. So you're familiar with then it seems the commercial aspect of real estate as well too,
Correct.
from what you're saying.
So I
Um,
help on assist with some people when they're looking for tenant leases on their
okay.
commercial building space. But most of the commercial activity I do is I acquire apartment communities
Hmm.
and transform them into affordable housing and market share type rentals.
Okay.
Some that I then manage. So.
And then what?
And then I get to manage those. So keeping money in house.
So that is terrific. So just to kind of getting a bit back to the residential real estate side of things, um, since you're close to Atlanta, I'm going to assume there's probably some price pressure on the real estate. So I know in here in the Boston area, people may move in from different parts of the country. They'll identify either downtown Boston or other neighborhoods of Boston. They get priced out in like a few moments, so they start exploring some of the inner suburbs and outer suburbs. It's all depending on their price point. So I'm just kind of curious, have you seen any trends like that where people want to be near Atlanta, but they want to go a bit further out for pricing? I'm
So
assuming a
yeah.
little bit.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So Atlanta, I love Atlanta. Atlanta still has, it's still a very, I don't want to necessarily say segregated, but it still is in
Mm,
terms of where funds and things have gone.
okay.
And we're really working hard to change that mentality
Mm,
with the current, political and social climate that's out there.
mm,
However, there is different pockets in terms of, depending on the type of buyer that's looking, if they're needing from down payment assistance or if they're a little bit more affluent and have more liquid funds to be able to put towards their house. There's a lot of little segment parts within the city, like you have Grant Park or Kirkwood. Before the last recession, you could pick up those houses easily in the 40,000. Now you're buying tear downs at 600, $700,000.
oh.
So it has, the certain pockets of the city has changed
Mm,
dramatically, demographically, the socioeconomics of it has changed. However, the mentality in trying to keep some of that rich culture of our historical setting of why downtown is such a historical benefit when we've had civil rights pioneers come through and change the way the mentality is in those areas. I love that when I go up and down the streets now, you see a lot of people trying to heighten a lot of the architecture of that era, putting a new spin with modern builds, focusing in primarily on what the aesthetics were and during that time with those builds. So I see a lot of craftsmen. I see a lot of bungalows being built And then interplacing. And I lived a short stint in Los Angeles, so
Mhm.
I do like how you could have a modern build and then a 1940 craftsman right next to each other. It's a unique, but I love that in the fact that it gives you a different opportunity to gain value because you're not in a cookie cutter neighborhood and then
Yeah.
your values get very stagnant. So I see it from a different perspective, and I love seeing the changes that are happening within these communities.
Mm,
You see more people investing in their curb appeal,
mm,
which goes a long way. And again, that's putting a lot more character, and because they're doing more uh, walkability trails and bike trails, it gives people that opportunity to kind of go through the neighborhood and really enjoy that community feel.
that's interesting that even just architecturally, some of the diversity around there, it doesn't all look the same. Because I know sometimes people's ideas of upgrading certain neighborhoods is to just make it all look the same, and it kind of gets boring.
Very,
Um, so that's interesting to see. So it's a little bit of a mix of
yeah,
properties. I love the idea of bungalows. I That's one of my favorite types
uh-huh,
of homes. I think they're very charming
yes,
for a type of house. So it's interesting to see it's all mixed in, which is, I think is good, because then you have the walkability of the city, and yet you still have housing that's a little bit more homey feel
yeah.
to.
You get to have your personality shine on the
Mhm.
outside as well as you on the inside. Because I believe, any house can be a home. Four walls, a ceiling, that's really what you need, right?
Mhm.
And then you get to personalize it to make it and hone it into everything that you want it to be.
Mhm.
So just the same as I want to be downtown Atlanta, I've got that chronic illness of road rage. Shh, don't tell nobody. But Atlanta will bring it out of you.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing is, if I wanted to be in town and I could find a lot to build what I want to build, I love that I can still conform to the community that I want to be in,
Mm.
and yet bring my own uniqueness and quirkiness and flair that I want to bring to my community. And I love
That's awesome.
that.
So I know you kind of hinted at some of the pricing
Yes.
in the city and around, with the tear down sometimes going for like 600, 700. Um, so I'm just curious, what in general are some of the prices like in the area? What is it common for, like, days on market? Is it competitive buying situation? That kind of stat stuff, but
Oh, and I'll hit you with all the boring stats.
yeah, then we'll
but
do that
but
circle.
the crazy part is it's not as boring because our market, Atlanta has. I mean, again, I can only praise how awesome our market is.
Okay.
Before our last recession, we had over 100,000 properties on the market, and so supply and demand was not an issue, right? It was more the demand was the issue. The supply wasn't. Now, here I'm looking at June 2020's numbers. Our new listings decreased 4% to 17,269 properties
Okay.
in the entire state. So
Okay.
that is remarkable, meaning that we have over 100,000 licensed agents in the state of Georgia, and 43,000 of those are licensed realtors. And we only have 17,269 properties on the market. Our pending sales did go up about 21%.
Okay.
So that's telling you that people are still buying, even despite COVID. Like my business, because I think we are now honing it and focusing on people that are not just, kicking tires, wasting your time just to go play HGTV. You actually have serious people that are looking to acquire home ownership. I've done more relocation business here recently for people coming in from other states. And so, it having the options to find homes, depending on the areas they want to move to. Some are a little problematic because the the inventory is so sparse in those areas. It's really tough. I have a young lady trying to relocate for a specific school district that she is adamant she has to want to be in. And there's only one house, like literally one house available. And I keep looking like that's your house. That's your house. And then there are some areas that may have 50 options. So it just depends on where you're going in the city. the affordability, of it. And because a $200,000 house, on the south side could be a tear down on the north side, and I mean, it is, there are certain pockets, like I was just alluding to within Old Fourth Ward, that you're buying tear downs at $500,000. I mean, it really is depending on the location within the city you want to be in. But there are some great viable options. I live outside the perimeter of Atlanta, but I border right where the perimeter is. And so I get a lot more for my money. Yet I'm 10 minutes drive to downtown. And I'm okay with that. Again, chronic illness and road rage. I know my weakness.
So you recognize it, move on.
I recognize when it's time to drive and not.
That's good. Good. Self-aware realtor, always a good thing.
But our inventory has shrunk so much, but our median price point is roughly about 250,000, which increased about 4.6 is what Georgia Association of Realtors have alerted me to. And our days on market has gone up to about 8%, being at 53 days. And again, that depends on where you're at. I'm considered more of a listing agent. However, I do work with a lot of buyers. And in that, I see where depending on what side of town I have a listing on, I average between 30 and 40 listings. So I thank God for that. I'm just saying, I'm in business still. But with that, I have some properties that could be on the market in a matter of hours, and I'll have multiple contracts. I mean, over 10 contracts on it. Versus I have some that'll sit there until that 50th day and finally get that one. But COVID has did prove some challenges. So.
Okay, so it sounds like it can be competitive still for buyers, from what you're saying then. But as usual, if something's priced correctly, it should move pretty fast. So it's always a good thing.
Yes. We have found that what I've noticed, and I'm sorry, is that you get some people that are very, right now with everything going on with COVID, yes, we've had some people lose jobs. Most important, we've had some people that have passed away that were homeowners. And what I am finding, because I've come across two listings that I've had to unfortunately let go, is because people didn't put wills together, or the issues with probate in the midst of COVID, on top of delinquency and mortgages. So I will say that I foresee there's going to be some houses hitting the market, towards the end of the year, that unfortunately there's going to be some title issues and things like that will come. However, I would not say that wait until then, because again, our supply and demand is so low that if you are looking for something to invest in now, the return on investment will continue to go up, because again, we are so low on an inventory right now. So it's still a great buy.
Yeah, that's good to know then. So it sounds like, with Atlanta, you have the industries you mentioned, the draw of the city itself, which is a big thing, because people usually like to be closer to urban centers for all the amenities, hospitals, and that kind of thing. So just in general, it seems like it can be competitive. It sounds like it helps to know an agent such as yourself who knows the pockets of the different markets, because it sounds like you have somewhat micro markets like we do up in here. Depending, you go from one town to another, it can be a completely different story.
And the beautiful thing of our city is, where are you going to get all this Southern charm from, right? No matter what part of the city you're going to be in, you're going to get some Southern charm. Everyone is going to be welcoming, especially inner city. Everybody has the collective voice in what they expect from their city, and holding people accountable. I like that. I have found that local municipal leaders are more attentive, especially in our current climate. And I love that, because this is where, most importantly, home ownership is. It gives you your voice within being invested in your community, and that's going to give you a lot of opportunity with your leaders, because then they know you're invested in the community just as much as they
Okay. That is great. So it sounds like the overall cost of living is pretty good. You know, the real estate is sounds like if you're coming from a different part of the country, then you can get some good housing, although you'll have to be competitive for it. Are you seeing things such as buyers waiving contingencies like home inspection contingencies or mortgage
have
contingencies?
seen
A
those.
lot of that up here, actually.
Yeah, I have seen those, but I always still tell people get a home inspection no matter what. You need to know what you're buying.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. Even if it's brand new construction, you need to have a home inspection. I have seen we are a high moisture state, so termites get bad here, and so these are things that you want to know what you're walking into when you purchase. And I've seen where new builders will have molded wood because we have some serious rainy weather. And when you have wood just sitting in the elements until they finally decide to put them up, you get spores on them. So, it's just being aware and being attentive, depending on the products that, you're looking in, and you're, evaluating if it's the right place for you to call home.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Do not go without a contingency, even if it's a 1 or 2 day. A home inspection is a must here in Georgia. I highly recommend. But I have seen where the financial contingencies have gone away. I do a lot with cash. Again, my clientele from purchases, most of them will have cash as foreign investors. But I have had a lot of relocation where they're coming with a sizable down payment because either they've sold their assets in another state where they benefited from how good our markets have been, to now that they have enough substantial to put in a property. I'm helping a couple now, him and his husband, they have great credit, and trying to find a community that was going to be welcoming for them. And I'm like, it's Atlanta, of course, there's no Atlanta prices, right? But finding something in their price point is very tough. And so with keeping that in mind, it might be that they may have to come out of pocket a little bit more to find that perfect home for them. Or then we have to weigh options outside the perimeter to get all the things they want. So as long as you come with an open mind, open expectations, I think, and focus on your needs list before your wants, you can find a home easily wherever you really want to be. Just don't expect to find a move-in ready home for $125,000 Alpharetta, because that ain't.
Set the expectation before you go start looking.
There you go. I'm gonna pop that balloon if it needs to be.
Decide what you need to have. If you need a home office, like you're working from home a lot, then make sure you have at least a 3-bedroom home, probably. Or one.
Having the space, account what you need it to be. My favorite home I ever owned was 900 square feet. I bought the nanny's quarters to the late Congressman John Lewis' house, and it was the best home I ever owned. I had just sold a 3,000 square foot in the Cascade area, beautiful home. And my mom was like, Amy, and this at the time, it was only 810 square feet. I added to make it 900 square feet. But my mom, I remember painting it, and she was like, Amy, this is like the size of your closet in the last home. And I was like, yeah. But this is going to be home for me. And it's actually the longest home I ever lived in. It forced me to purge, not accumulating a bunch of crap that now that I'm back in another 3,000 square foot house, I got a lot of keep all rooms because it's just myself. But you find when you focus on what actually will make you happy, like for me, I love to travel. I love, at the time, I hated cooking. So I ate out a lot. So it was conducive to my lifestyle then. And that's where I start when I help buyers. What is your personality? What is it that you look more for? What's your day-to-day? Do you eat out a lot? I just wanted a kitchen that looked like I knew what I was doing. Now because I've turned vegan, I enjoy being in my kitchen. I love my workspace. So you've got to find things that work more for you, not just, oh, hey, it's so pretty and I got the biggest house on the block. You got to find things that work for you because you'll find yourself more invested in the home and your upkeep in order to retain your value. So That's where I start with most of my buyers. What's their personality?
That makes sense. It's like I know with these recent buyers that I've been working with, they cook together as a family. That's actually their big activity. Like the kids will be, they have young kids, so the kids are kind of helping out by prepping vegetables, or the parents are there. So they decided to get a home that did have more of an open floor plan between kitchen and dining room, because there was a lot of interplay of activities
Yeah,
in there. So now whenever they're looking, they're saying, we go in the kitchen.
yeah,
First thing, I'm like, let's take a look at the kitchen. And then the other thing, they're very detail oriented, um, technical type people, I think. So then we look at the kitchen, then we look at the basement to make sure that all the systems are looking good and that kind of thing. So it's an interesting one, from almost artistic, creative to deeply
very
technical.
analytical. What's gonna work?
So it's an interesting people to work with there in that sense too. Um, okay, so that's great then. So what else did you have to say about Atlanta or yourself or your business?
So, I mean, again, I've been in this business for 16 years. I've seen it all. I've seen it from when the bottom fell out,
Right.
and then was able to rebuild. I was able to start my company on the heels of when we were rebuilding,
Okay.
and as being one of the second minority-owned businesses in my current county.
Hmm.
To see now more grow, and more come in. I've seen just so many amazing changes, but I love that I got to grow with it. I make it a point to be involved, not just in my community, but also within local municipalities, just to make sure I'm coherent of what's happening in an area to make sure that the value will be retained in that area.
Sure.
So I give that benefit for my clients. However, they have their own due diligence they need to do as well. But I love everything about real estate. Real estate helped me grow more passion for the industry, because I got more involved with different boards I sat on. I used to be the former president of the West Georgia Board of Realtors. I served as the diversity chair for the Georgia Association of Realtors. Currently serve on diversity for the National Association of Realtors. But I participate in so many other organizations like NAREP, NOGLREP, ARIA, Women's Council of Realtors. Like, I make it a point to be invested enough in my career, to keep my network strong, to keep my network in being informed by my network, especially when things are off market that I may be looking for something for a client I might be able to find. When I'm working with one of my buyers, or even as I'm selling. I sell a lot off market because as quickly as I'm getting ready to put something in, I may know something that works for another agent's client. And so I love the relationships I have built, because it's camaraderie, right? That's what we want. So I love being a part of the group.
Wonderful. It was really great talking to you. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way for them to reach you?
So My Hometown Realty Group. You can see us online at www.myhometownatl.com, or you can reach to our office at 770-941-0881, or you can hear my beautiful voice on my cell at 404-933-8842. I look forward to helping anyone that's ready to make Atlanta their home.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Okay.
Thank you very much for having me, and you have an awesome day.
Thanks. Bye bye.